So off we go again with another edition of Starry Skies, this for the month of April. I'm Mark Hardaker.
And I'm Steve Tonkin.
And we're going to take you through some of the stars, planets, constellations, and other things to be seen in the night sky in this month of April. And we're going to talk a little bit at the end all about the equipment you should and also should not be buying.
Definitely beware. There's some very iffy stuff out there.
Yeah. So what about this weather then, Steve?
It's been dire, hasn't it?
Awful.
I mean, it's been cloudy for so long. Few little evenings, little snippets of clear sky, but really for serious observing has been nothing really for nearly 2 months.
Last time I was out was February, so all of that March wasted, and even the first couple of weeks of April don't look great either, but We'll see.
We will see. Chin up. We'll get there. Okay, so what's going on with the planets then, Mark?
Okay, so we got, first of all, we had the equinox, don't forget. Just at the end of March, we had the equinox.
Yes.
Equinox, before we get to the planets. An equinox is when the sun crosses the equator, heading north, meaning we have equal day and equal night.
Hence equal, nox, night.
So we're definitely into summertime now,
Yep.
and shorter nights, lots less astronomy time for us. But during that time, we'll be able to see the planets. So let's start with Mercury, which is the nearest planet to the sun.
Mm-hmm. Mercury is going to be very, very good this month. Round about the 11th, it's going to be what's called greatest eastern elongation, which effectively means it sets after the sun in the west. So you need to look just after sunset. You look, it's not very bright, and if you're going to use binoculars or anything, wait until the sun's actually below the horizon, because you don't want to damage your eyes. And it's this very rarely seen, actually, by lots of people. Apparently Copernicus, the great astronomer Copernicus, never saw Mercury.
Yeah, it's not easy to see. And if you really want to see it, get up high, so you have a nice view of the western horizon. Take your binoculars with you, because it's much easier in binoculars. As Steve's saying, avoid the sun. Yeah. And there it'll be, quite obvious, around the 10th, 11th, 12th of April.
Yeah. Well, on the 12th as well, Venus, which is incredibly obvious because it's so bright, is going to be right next to the Pleiades star cluster, the Seven Sisters. So, just to see these two things in the sky together, and you could even image that with a camera phone or something like that if you wanted to.
Yeah, Venus is unmistakable, high up all month, and May, in fact, up in the western sky.
Yeah.
Then we have Mars. Well, where's Mars this month?
In the constellation of Gemini, the twins.
Right. And it's fading. It's had a lovely apparition, as we call it. It's been visible for several months now, but it's fading as it moves further and further away from us. But you can still see it high up in the southwest in the constellation of Gemini, a bright orange star, but as I say, it's slowly fading.
Yeah, and it looks less orange as it gets less bright as well.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, more yellowy, really, isn't it? As it fades away. Jupiter, the biggest planet, the largest planet in the solar system, forget it for this month. It's too close to the sun. What does that mean? Too close to the sun?
It's actually nowhere near the sun, but it's in the same line of sight as the sun.
Right.
It's about 5 times as far away as the sun or something like that. Yeah.
Both the sun and Jupiter are in the constellation of Pisces this month. So if you're a Piscean, the sun is in your sign more or less this month. We don't believe in this astrology rubbish.
Yes, and you'll find that actually if you're born this month, you are not a Piscean at all. You're either an Arian or a Taurian. So that tells you how much astrology's worth.
Yeah, absolutely. So forget Jupiter, and Saturn is barely better. Saturn is in the constellation of Aquarius. You might just be able to see it at the end of the month of April, low down in the east, just before sunrise, of course. But it's not great yet. You're going to see that in summer and autumn.
Yeah, that'll be good. That's the one, even small telescope can show you the rings on that, which is one of the wow moments in astronomy. There's actually 2. One we've already mentioned, which is the Pleiades. You can tell when someone's seen the Pleiades for the first time in binoculars, because they make exactly the same noise they make the first time they've seen Saturn's rings in a telescope. That noise is wow.
Wow, yeah. Yeah. And we astronomers gather together sometimes doing outreach events in fields late at night with young people, and we sometimes count the number of wows we get. Don't we? So much fun.
We do wow
so
counts.
Much fun. Yeah. Okay, so moving right along. So forget the other outer planets this month, Uranus and Neptune, really too close to the sun and not worth having a look for. However, what about about Ceres?
Ceres. Ceres is used to be called a minor planet. It is the only dwarf planet that you can see with binoculars and sometimes with the naked eye.
Right.
And so it's a dwarf planet. What it means is it's approximately spherical, but it's not as big as the real planets, really. And it's really nicely placed in the constellation of Coma Berenices, which means Berenice's hair.
And that takes us right on to this month's constellation of the month, which is Coma Berenices.
There's a lot of mythology around Coma. As Berenice's hair, which is what Coma Berenices means, it was a queen who said she would sacrifice her beautiful hair if the gods allowed her husband to come safe back from battle. So she did. So the gods, to honour her faithfulness, they put her hair in the sky so it'll be forever remembered. But if you know the play Midsummer Night's Dream, the play within a play, Pyramus and Thisbe, in that mythology, it's actually Thisbe's veil, because it's right behind Leo the lion, the one that she got frightened by the lion and dropped and ran away before the great sort of, I die from Pyramus. But the best one for that one, I think, in North African mythology, that's a waterhole. And if you look up above it, some distance away, you'll see 3 pairs of stars, almost equally spaced, and they are known as the 3 leaps of the gazelle. The lion had frightened the gazelle away from the watery hole. So up near the Plough asterism, group of stars that has a recognition to it, you've got this other asterism that crosses a long way across the sky, which is the 3 leaps of the gazelle. Have a look for it. It's lovely.
And Coma is, as we call it for short, is one of the nicest open clusters in the sky. If you know how to find the Pleiades, Coma is a little like that, only much bigger, and you can see it easily with the naked eye, the same as you can with the Pleiades. It's just there, high in the sky, in the south during April, to the upper left above Leo.
Yeah. And in binoculars, if this cluster is so big, it could, depending on your binoculars, it could overflow the field of view of the binoculars. It's really lovely.
Lovely. And for all us Forest FM listeners, I really would encourage you, get your binoculars out, have a look in the dark sky, as we have down here in Dorset and Hampshire, and see if you can find Coma Berenices. It's a very, very nice cluster, and it's our constellation of the month for April.
Yeah, there is a really nice view of the moon you can have in binoculars as well, and that'll be on the 27th in the evening, so you'll have to not stay up too late, because it's just after sunset. You look at the moon, and along the terminator, which is the line between light and dark on the moon, if you look carefully, you'll see the letters X and V lit up. So they call the lunar X and V. It's what's called a clair-obscur effect. It's a shadow illusion. So have a look for the lunar X and V on the 27th.
Very nice indeed. And also, I think during the month of April, as we get longer and longer days and shorter nights, it means we can have a glass of wine first and go out and look under the stars.
Indeed.
About 9 or 10 o'clock in the evening. It's rather beautiful and warm, of course.
Yeah.
So what do we need when we go out there? What should we be looking to use? Do we need big telescopes, Steve, for all this?
You don't. That's the nice thing about astronomy. Most astronomy ever has been done with the unaided eye.
That's it.
So it was only when the astronomical telescope was first used, which was the beginning of the 17th century, that people have been using telescopes for that. So thousands of years people used the unaided eye. But you don't need a telescope. That's the thing. There is so much that you can see with binoculars, and you'll do much better if you're not spending a lot of money getting binoculars like, I think, a 10 by 50 is my favourite, but 7 by 50 if you want to be able to hold it slightly steadier perhaps. So now that means that the 10 or the 7 is the times it magnifies, so it's that many diameters, and the 50 is the aperture of the big end, as it were, how far the diameter of the objective lens.
So if I needed to buy something for my children or people just starting in astronomy, what's the best binocular I should be buying? What should it be, 10 by 50 or 20 by 70, or what should I be looking to buy?
Don't get 20. You can't handhold it. It'll shake all over the place. You can handhold a 10 times magnification reasonably easily if you hold it and brace your thumbs with holding it into the corners of your eyes. Right. So you make stable triangles with your arms. That can hold it quite steadily. But for youngsters, if you want to make sure they can really hold it steadily, get something like an 8 by 42 because it's not magnifying so much. It's also the size that birders prefer because it's easier to hold it steadily.
Right. So really, this is an investment that we could make that doesn't break the bank. And also, if you lost the interest in astronomy, which of course you wouldn't do, but if you did, it could be used for binocular, for birding and other interests as well. So
yeah, and there's lots of opportunities for that in the Forest FM area. So
exactly. So don't rush to buy a telescope. No. In fact, especially don't rush to buy the things that you see advertised on Amazon and the rest, these small Chinese-made, are we allowed to say that, telescopes that are 600 magnification, view the rings of Saturn. You know from the advertising that that's going to be a disappointment. Yeah. And so many people have been disappointed. Mums and dads have bought them these telescopes, set them up in the garden, can't see anything, wobbly as jelly, goes in the bin, end of astronomy hobby. What a shame, Steve.
It is. And they call them hobby killers because that's exactly what they are. If a telescope is advertised by its magnification, don't get it. Yeah, in fact, the best thing you can do is speak to one of your astronomical societies, maybe get along to observing session with them and try other people's out first.
Absolutely.
Now, we can point you to really good telescopes that you can get quite cheaply, and we can advise you away from the rubbish, the hobby killer stuff. There's 2 astronomy societies in the Forest FM listening area. That is Wessex Astronomical Society, which meets on the first Tuesday of the month at the Allendale Centre in Wimborne, and there's Fordingbridge Astronomers, which meets in Ringwood, surprisingly, because we outgrew Fordingbridge, at the Elm Tree on the third Wednesday of the month.
And we'd be delighted to welcome any of you along. We're a very friendly bunch, and we would be really delighted to help you with any questions on your binoculars, telescopes to buy, and so forth. Help you set up and make sure that your budding interest in astronomy for you or your kids grows. And remember what Patrick Moore used to say many years ago now, but he used to say, if you're going to buy a telescope, then get a 3-inch telescope, a refractor, that's one that you look through conventionally, or a 6-inch reflector. And I think it's still good guidance, a little bit old-fashioned now, but Patrick was never or seldom wrong. And, start with naked eye, learn the constellations, move to binoculars, and when you're sure, then move to a reasonable telescope, not a brown box.
Indeed. What's a brown box, Mark?
Yeah, the brown box is the thing we were telling you about just then. The Chinese made 600 magnification with a big picture of Saturn and its rings, or a Hubble Space Telescope on the side. Yeah. Do not buy.
Yep.
So I think we're done for the month. We look forward to welcoming you back in May, when around the same time we'll be talking about the stars that you see in May, when the nights will be even shorter. We look forward to meeting you at Fordingbridge Astronomers or at Wessex Astronomical Society. And with that, from Mark Hardaker
and Steve Tonkin,
we wish you clear skies.